Hi everyone, welcome back to another session of Bhagavad Gita. We will be doing today chapter 2, text number 33 to 35. This is on page 101 and page 102 of the hardbound Bhagavad Gita. We'll start with prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master who, with the torchlight of knowledge, has opened my eyes, which were blinded by the darkness of ignorance. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. My dear Lord, and the spiritual energy of the Lord, kindly engage me in your service. I am now embarrassed with this material service. Please engage me in your service. So, a little recap of our previous sessions. We are in chapter 2. So, in the beginning of chapter 2, if you see text number 7, Arjuna says, Krishna, I am a surrendered soul unto you. Please guide me. I am confused. I cannot make a decision on my own. He is expressing his indecision and asking for guidance from Krishna. And from text number 8 onwards of chapter 2, Krishna starts to speak. Krishna speaks about the soul, the qualities, the characteristics of the soul. Going forward, Krishna says, Arjuna, you are a Kshatriya, it's your duty to fight, and you must fight. So, different verses hinting that Arjuna, you should fight. In between, he says, body is like a dress. A soul is wearing this dress, and like we remove old clothes and put on new clothes every day, we will one day leave this body and take a new body. So he's trying to address Arjuna's lamentation that Arjuna does not want to kill. And this verses that we are going to cover today, 33 to 35, Krishna gives his judgment, the final verdict for the indecision that Arjuna is in. So let's move forward and see what we have. So text number 33 translation reads, If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. Okay, I'll read one more time. Krishna is saying to Arjuna, if, however, you, Arjuna, do not perform your religious duty of fighting. Now, someone may say, fighting is bad. Krishna is saying, perform your religious duty of fighting. For most of us, religion and fighting would go in two different directions. But Krishna is confirming in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna saying, if Arjuna, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you, Arjuna, will certainly incur sin for neglecting your duty and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. So, here, what is Krishna trying to say? Krishna is saying, Arjuna, you are a very great warrior. So, There are three different instances mentioned here in the purport when you read that Arjuna one time was hunting in the forest. He killed an animal, and in those days Kshatriyas used to practice their skills of fighting and archery on animals. They would go in the forest and they would fight with a tiger just to keep their fighting skills up to the mark. They would challenge an animal, they would go practice archery and hunting in the forest on the animals, which was allowed in those days. It was religious because they were doing it for the protection of the citizens. So one time Arjuna was hunting and he killed an animal. When he went closer to the animal and he wanted to take the animal with him, Lord Shiva came on the spot in the dress of a hunter, and Lord Shiva told Arjuna that I have killed this animal and I claim this animal. Arjuna was surprised. Arjuna said, I have killed this animal and I will claim this animal. So, in order to resolve who will claim the animal, Arjuna and Lord Shiva had a fight. And Arjuna defeated Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva was very pleased, and Lord Shiva gave Arjuna a Pashupatashtra. It's a weapon which he gave as a gift to Arjuna. His teacher, Arjuna's teacher Dronacharya, awarded Arjuna with special weapons. Weapons with which Arjuna can kill Dronacharya himself. So, Arjuna was such a warrior that he had got accolades from different people. Above that, Arjuna, was the son of Indra, the heavenly king, and he had received lot of certificates from Indra and many other authorities. So, all these to point in the direction that Arjuna was a great warrior, and he had a lot of fame and prestige as a warrior. Now, Krishna is bringing all that to the foreground and he's telling Arjuna, Arjuna, if you abandon the battle and neglect your duty, you will lose all the good name and fame that you have. So, he's bringing forth Arjuna to the point of reminding him that Arjuna, you're a great warrior. Don't get overcome by the petty weakness of heart. And Krishna is telling Arjuna, if you don't fight, you will go to hell. Arjuna was thinking the other way around. Arjuna was thinking, if I fight, I will go to hell. I'll kill so many people. But Krishna is authorizing that no. Arjuna, if you fight this war, even if you die, you will go to a heavenly planet. So, Krishna is removing all doubt from Arjuna's mind and heart and inspiring, directing Arjuna in the direction of fighting. Fighting is determined as good or bad based on the cause of the fight. So, what was the cause for which this fighting was being done? This fight was a righteous fight. Krishna was asking Arjuna to fight against the aggressors, Duryodhana, who tried to burn the Pandavas in the house of lac, who tried to disrobe Draupadi, who tried to take away their kingdom, who tried to indulge them in gambling. So, if Duryodhana becomes the king, then all these will prevail in the kingdom and citizens will suffer. So, for the cause of righteousness, for the cause of everybody to continue to practice Krishna consciousness, Krishna wanted Yudhishthir Maharaj and the Pandava brothers to become the king. That was the cause of this fight. So, this fight was a religious fight. Now, we may have a different sense of religion, but according to Krishna, religion is, or a religious fight is, the one that is being done for the cause of directing everybody towards Krishna. So, we need to bring our definitions in line with the definitions of Bhagavad Gita. That is the reason we read Bhagavad Gita. So, when we take decisions of our life, then we bring to forefront the teachings and instructions of Bhagavad Gita and take our decisions based on those teachings and definitions enunciated in the Bhagavad Gita. So that's our text number 33. We'll move on to text number 34. Text number 34 reads, "People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death." So Krishna continues on the same lines. To speak, we'll read one more time. People will always speak of your infamy. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, if you run away from the battlefield and choose not to fight, people will always speak of your infamy. And for a respectable person like you, Arjuna, who has earned so many accolades, for a respectable person like you, dishonor is worse than death. So Krishna is showing forth the consequences to Arjuna. If he decides not to fight, what happens? He runs away from the battlefield, fine. He wants to continue his life by begging. And Krishna is saying, if you do that, then people will talk of your infamy. People will think you're coward. And hearing all those words will be worse than death for you. So, what is Krishna's recommendation to Arjuna? Krishna's recommendation to Arjuna is, Arjuna, if you think you are saving your life by running away from battle, then I would prefer that you fight in the battle and die. Krishna is telling Arjuna in plain words. He's saying, to die in the battlefield is way better than running away from the battlefield. There is a story in this connection. There was a king who went for a battle. And apparently he lost the battle. And after losing the battle, the king was coming back home. His queen in his kingdom heard that the king has lost the battle and the king is returning back home. She asked the doorkeepers to close the doors of the palace to the king. The king came to the gate and the king sent a message to the queen asking, I am at the door, why have you closed the palace doors on me? And the queen sent the reply back through the messenger saying, you are the king? I know my husband would either win the battle or he would die in the battle. I don't know any king, or I don't know of a man as my husband who would lose the battle and return back to the kingdom. In those days, Kshatriyas were fixed in their vow to give protection. So for them to go on a battle was the battle would be a religious battle, meaning the battle would be for a right cause. And in that right cause, they did not think lose or win. They just fought. And for them, either they would win or they would lay their life down in the battlefield. They would prefer to die if they cannot win. So the queen said, my husband would either win in the battle or die in the battle. My husband would never lose the battle and come back home. So they would give their everything to win the battle. That is a Kshatriya. And Krishna is saying, if you run away from the battlefield, people will call you bad names, Arjuna. And for a respectable person, infamy is worse than death. So don't flee for your life. Better is if you die in the battle. That are Krishna's words to Arjuna in text number 34. Now let's move forward and see text number 35. Text number 35 reads, the great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. So, Krishna is bringing Arjuna's attention to the great generals. Who are the great generals? Dronacharya, the teacher of Arjuna. There are also other contemporaries, Duryodhana, Karna, and the whole arena of people on the battlefield. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame. People who know you as a famous and a brave and a wonderful warrior will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only. So Krishna is saying they will not think that you had compassion. They will not think that you didn't want bloodshed. You didn't want so many people's lives to be taken away. And that's the reason you did not fight. They will think that you ran away because of fear. And thus they will consider you insignificant. So, Krishna is telling Arjuna that Arjuna, you will bring infamy not only to yourself, but you will not be doing any justice to my friendship. Meaning, to be friend of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a great honor. And Krishna is bringing that to the foreground and telling Arjuna that Arjuna, you will be misusing my friendship if you run away like this from the battlefield. To support Arjuna, Krishna became his chariot driver. What to talk of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who created this whole universe, he becoming the chariot driver of Arjuna. That was Arjuna's prestige. That was Arjuna's honor. He was the friend of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Meaning, in today's world, if we want to correlate, if I am the friend of the prime minister of the country or the president of the country, meaning I have great responsibility as a friend of a great person. And likewise, Krishna is telling Arjuna, Arjuna, you're misusing my friendship. If you succumb like this to the weakness of heart and run away from the battlefield, then you misuse the friendship that I'm offering to you. I'm offering you to I'm offering, Krishna is telling Arjuna, Arjuna, I'm offering myself to you so that you can become my instrument in this religious fight. I want to get this fight done through your hands and award you victory. And Arjuna, by thinking and by talking about running away from this battlefield, you are misusing my friendship. So that's what Krishna is telling Arjuna. So this section, text number 33 to 35, to summarize, Krishna is saying that Arjuna, fight. That's the final verdict of Krishna. Why? Because Kshatriyas don't run away from the battlefield. Kshatriyas either die on the battlefield or they win. And you are a very great warrior, a very great individual, and if you run away, then people will talk ill names, bad names about you, and that kind of talk will be worse than death for you. So text number 7 of chapter 2, Arjuna asked for guidance, and here Krishna is giving him the final judgment. He says, Arjuna, fight. So that's our session for today. We will see you all again. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.